We're live.
Yeah. So can you straight at her, right? Yeah. So athletic. Yeah. Don't cry. I asked her, did you cry? She said, oh, wow. She didn't cry. Can't cry.
The nurse just called the same.
Yeah, I'm not leaving back for 28 hours.
I know too.
It's like, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, I knew. I was giving weight up to 10-pound babies. I was like, I have no idea what traction feels like. Fine, we just hold on. But I was hard, but I was like, and they were 6 pounds. I'm good. I knew from the start. I'm okay. I know that I'm cool I'm short. And Gavin was like, I think he was 9'9", probably 9 pounds.
He's like skinny and like lollipop. Like knocks him over sometimes.
It was funny that I took care of some things in the and mom was like, I was like, I have to show you this. And literally her picture was just the exact same. I was like, I'm having a face. That's mine. She was 5'7". And he would always like, if I had him looking this way, and they were always going to have a fan on one another. Church that
She's still dead. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't looking forward to it. I'm like, no, I'm sitting here.
Dude, did you see the forecast for tonight?
How are you?
So where's the range we need to stand in?
You don't. We'll follow you.
Oh, yo,
It's through this.
We're gonna do the whole season and be like, this is how parties are here.
Are you going to plan on moving around?
You're like, oh my God.
No,
In this area?
Like from here to here.
Okay.
We're hoping there's a big audience out there at home watching at home.
Yes, thousands. I'll be able to tell you what it is.
Just make sure you have standing here only where the numbers.
Good.
It's on YouTube Live.
YouTube Live.
It's on YouTube Live
Through the district website.
And tomorrow, immediately in the morning, we can post to Win TV and then Facebook. And every other thing. So, Jenny and I got that one done.
Okay. YouTube Live, Win TV, and tomorrow will be on.
First thing in the morning, we can get it on all the way. Right, which Sally linked to the other day. So there's people on there, right?
I love it. I'll be like, I'm like, oh, 26 times.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. First off, thank you for coming out to the community forum on the Board of Education budget. I want to apologize to those here as well as in the the viewing audience. This is being televised through Win TV as well as the YouTube channel. And everything that's done tonight will be up on the website, hopefully within by end of business tomorrow. My name is Leonard Lockhart. I serve as Windsor Board of Education. I have with me
David Fury, Vice President of the Board of Education and Finance Chair.
Craig Cook, Superintendent, thank you for coming.
Danielle Batchelder, I'm the Director of Business Services for the district.
All right, so we're going to take the time to go through the presentation. For everyone, this meeting was originally scheduled for April 24th. There was a lot of things scheduled for April 24th. We had 3 of our state representatives that represent Windsor was planning a forum. On top of that, the town council was planning on approving the budget that particular day. But the Monday before that, they were supposed to have public comments as well. They canceled public comments for that Monday and did stand approval on that Wednesday. So as board president, I didn't see that there should be 2 competing events, as you want to be at one or the other. So I made the decision to have Dr. Cook reach out to all the PTO presidents and to reschedule this event. So to the PTO presidents, thank you very much for being very accommodating with that request. As you know, for Windsor, we have a very, very, very good town that really supports all the services in town, both on town and Board of Education side. Every decision that we make as Board of Education members, as well as the superintendent and all of his staff, is with the children in mind. Every single thing, every single dollar that's spent is with the children, student achievement at mind. We want to make sure that we understand what our goals and the missions are within the district. We understand where we need to be focused on. And we got to make sure that the monies that we go right directly to those district priorities. In addition, we want to make sure that we provide areas of support for teachers and all the staff within the buildings. So this has been a very collaborative process, as it has been throughout the years. If you go on our website, you can see the budget from the past 6-7 years that has been approved by the citizens of the town of Windsor in regards to what we spent year over year. And then you can compare it year over year up to this point right now. So this budget is actually a budget that was provided by the superintendent. It was approved by the board, and then it was also approved to go to the citizens for referendum by the town council. 9-0 by the Board of Education, 9-0 by the town.
Technology, great. As you can see, there is an increase in this year's budget of $1,844,561, which represents 2.67% $1,913,361. But the important part of that is that the fixed portion of the budget. So we were very careful, and the superintendent was very careful in looking at the different needs that we had. So it wasn't only just more spending. It was trying to get what we considered, what the central office and the board consider the best bang for the buck. In addition to money that we get from the citizens in Windsor, we also get a number of outside grants. The 3 largest revenue sources of those are this educational cost sharing grant of over $11 million, special ed excess cost of tuition of $1.5 million. And we are still an alliance district, and we get a grant. The bad thing is we're still an alliance district. The good thing is we're getting money from the state for that, $582,729. There's a number of other grants. People want to go and look to the minutia. There's in our budget book, there's a whole listing of other grants that we get. And Mr. Lockhart just mentioned previously about looking at past years. If you look at the last 5 years, the last 5-year average of an increase for the budget has been 1.73%. So we've been very respectful of town citizens in what we've been asking for. I'll pass this over to Dr. Cook.
Thank you, David, and thank you for coming out on the only day that hasn't rained in the last 3 weeks. And so, as David and Leonard pointed out, we have been very fiscally conservative in the last 5 years, and even before that, the zero there really stands out. And I mention that again just because one of the areas we wanted to show, and I know it's not new for our families you're probably very aware of this, but our enrollment is going up. So we're one of the few districts in Connecticut that's seeing an increase in student enrollment. And in fact, as we sit here today, we had over 3,300 students attend Windsor Public Schools today. We use October 1 because that's the official count through the state of Connecticut. But that is something to be very aware of as we look at our costs. When we compare ourselves to other districts, we are seeing a pretty steady increase in terms of enrollment. I would say for the most part, it's been very manageable, other than Pequannock Kindergarten. So, we have new students come in, they seem to have come in across the district. They join us in 9th grade, 11th grade, 7th grade. But for whatever reason, over the summer, we had about 30 to 35 more students in Pequannock Kindergarten than we expected, which Ms. Peterson and I probably talked daily over the summer. It was a good problem to have. It was really, really great. Through the support of the Board of Education, we added 2 kindergarten teachers, because one of the things that has been very consistent with the Board of Education over the years, as I've told them about concerns or need for additional teachers, they've supported those. And so I was able to show other areas we saved some money, and they gave me the okay to add those kindergarten teachers, because we look for maintaining a really good class size across the district. And I think that's something that Windsor has consistently shown, is that class size for us is very important. It gives teachers much more contact with families, with students, and able to really individualized instruction with students. Where are students coming from? So we've had many students return from magnet schools, private schools, new families moving into town. Ms. Peterson and Ms. Hurl have shared with me as they were registering students in the kindergarten through 2. They would see their families, young families coming in with babies and toddlers, and so that enrollment will probably look to continue at those early grades. Just some data to share, and so this is always a different cohort, so we always want to make sure we speak to that. These are juniors that take the SAT for us at Windsor High School, and as you see, since the state coming out in the SAT is the measure for high school, we've had a nice jump. That happened in 2016. So in 2015, we had about 85% of our students take the SAT test, and then in 2016, we had 96% take the SAT test. So we have more students taking it. We've seen a nice increase for afternoon and Saturday sessions, and our teachers have been trained to bring them through a process. So it's really been a great measure for us in the past. I think our students were very savvy, and they understood that the statewide assessment was more so for a measure of the school, not necessarily themselves. They themselves had the SAT test, they had advanced placement tests they had to take, their driver's test. They had lots of things that I think were more important to them at that point than the CAPT, which was the old test. But SAT has been very good. I mentioned advanced placement. So we have open enrollment advanced placement. So any student that wants to take advanced placement test through conversations with their school counselor, teachers, and their families are able to get into an advanced placement course. And so other districts might have some barriers to that. I want to make sure I haven't jumped on anyone's slide yet. That's good. Other districts might have barriers to taking the advanced placement test, but we do not have that in place. So you see a large number of tests taken at the high school, and really a growing number of students taking tests. Our belief is that every student that wants to and is interested in taking an advanced placement test or a course at Windsor High School during their time there should be able to take that. So we're pushing them into that. It's very good to see them have that college level experience. It's really a college level course, and gets to have them see the rigor of that exam. SBAC, last year we did see a step back in that. It's different tests, different cohorts of students taking the test, but I think over time we've seen a steady growth in our SBAC results and assessment preparation and work we do in the classroom. We're constantly aligning curriculum, so each summer we have curriculum teams in math and reading, in other areas across the district, writing new curriculum, revising new curriculum to make sure we're aligned to what the state is assessing us on. And another area that we're proud to share is graduation rate. And so this is looking at the class that comes in as freshmen at Windsor High School, how many are graduating within 4 years. And so we're graduating 92.3% in those 4 years from the 2017-2018 class. They also measure 6-year graduation rate, and that is typically around 98% for Windsor High School. So if a student leaves us and they go to another high school in Connecticut or another high school, across the nation, then that would not count against our rate. But if a student leaves us and does not enter into another school district right away, then that could count against our rate based on the state measure. But we work very hard to work with our students. A big piece of this is we have block scheduling, which allows our students to take up to 8 classes at any time at the high school. Oftentimes we'll encourage students to have a study hall in there, but they could take up to 8 classes, and we have 25 credits as our graduation requirement. You may have heard the state is doing a lot of work on a graduation requirement throughout Connecticut and coming out with a new mandate. We already meet that requirement in terms of number of credits. We're going to have to look at how those credits are made up and potentially offer some more things like additional world languages to meet that requirement. But we already have the number of maximum credits, so we're in good position to meet that new mandate. For our next slide, I'm going to turn it back over to David.
Dr. Cook gets to talk about all the good news, and what do I get? Budget challenges. What's wrong with this picture? Take one step back. I'm the finance chair, but a number of years ago, the Board of Education used to be a separate committee, and what it turned out to be most of the time is most members of the board came anyway to those meetings. And so instead of having the committee then bring it to the board as a whole, we really, a few years ago, before I was on the board, created a committee of the whole. So every 9 members of the Board of Education is on the Finance Committee. And one of the challenges here has to do with our contractual obligations, things that we are locked into, and this has to do with our 6 bargaining units, the biggest being the teachers' union and their contract. And so there's nothing we can do about those things. Those are negotiated in good faith between management and the teachers, but it is a challenge. There is a note there that there's $300,000 built into estimated retirement. So as often, doesn't happen all the time, many times, so a senior teacher may be making a lot of money who retires. We're able to hire someone at a starting salary if they're new, or usually a smaller amount than the teacher who's left. Obviously, if we have a major need for a certain particular area, that doesn't happen that way. But this, again, that's only an estimate that we have at this point. To talk about other challenges, I'll bring up Danielle.
So the biggest expense in our budget, obviously, are salaries and benefits. It's the people. We have staff, but the next 3 areas that are going to be up high on the list of big ticket items is going to be our special ed costs, our transportation, and our special ed transportation. Our regular ed transportation increases coming into 1920 is about $183,000. That represents a 3.9% increase. Some might say, wow, that's a lot, but that percent was a negotiated contract that was spread out over 5 years. So we did, instead of having 2 for 5 years, we did some increases are higher and some are lower, depending on what we knew was going to happen in years to come with state budgets or teacher contracts coming for renewal time. So we try to mitigate the playing field going into the next. Regular transportation also, we have 72 type 1 buses. Those are the big yellow buses you see. We have 36 type 2 buses. Those are the more the compact ones that you see, along with many vans and wheelchair vans. So that makes up a big portion of our budget. The next one is special ed transportation, the need and the needs of each student, and if they need monitors on a bus, if they need a wheelchair, they need any type of special accommodation on and off that transportation each day. A little less than 50,000. That increase is actually on the low side, which is nice because of the work that we do in district, keeping kids in-house as much as possible. 7-8 years ago, you would have seen an increase of probably over 200,000-300,000. So that really is a tribute to all of the work that our administrators and teachers do to keep our kids in Windsor Public School. Town of Windsor and Windsor Board of Ed are constantly in communication with our budgets. An increase of 155,000 is for employee retirement badge. As of July 1st, 2013, the town, in an effort to mitigate costs on their end, switched the pension plan for non-certified employees from the town's budget to the Board of Ed. So anyone that was hired after 7/1/2013, any non-certified, that's your paras, custodians, clerical unions, are paying into a 401A pension plan that the Board of Ed contributes 5% of the earnings into. All employees that were hired before 7/1/2013, that expense is on the town of Windsor's budget. The next one is an increase in tuition. So this is a good area that we are able to give the town of Windsor back money for revenue. So if we take on a student from a different town, if we have a DCF placement and that student is placed in Windsor, however, their nexus is from a different district, we are able to charge tuition costs. So that $200,000 goes directly to the town to help offset the whole town and Board of Ed budget. Benefits, this is a huge savings for us that we did not have to increase. That was startling. Increase expense in this line item. This could range from a $500,000 savings to close to $1 million. I talked to counterparts in other districts and they're looking at 10, 12, 15% increases. And that's on top of a $10 million expense. So it's very good that we don't have an increase. We didn't have one last year as well. And it's mainly due because all of our employees are now on a high deductible health savings plan as of July 1, 2018. And also we've got, and I always knock on wood when I say this, great claims. Our employees, we do health, promote health and wellness within the district, and it really shows on our premiums because our claims are so low, which is a great benefit to have. And lastly, this savings from utilities, we did a phone upgrade district-wide. All of the phone system is now online through our internet, so that was a savings in electricity. And also we did an LED lighting upgrade to all 4 elementary schools and Windsor High School. Sage, unfortunately, is getting piecemealed, but we're hoping by the end of, Leanna's not happy about that. Hopefully by the next 7-8 months, we can do little by little in each room and have district-wide LED upgrade, which is a huge savings for us in our lighting and electricity bills.
Thank you, Danielle. So what's in the budget? Beyond, you saw some challenges, you saw some of the things we're adding kind of more structurally, but just to share with you, we want to take some time to really what we're adding to the budget to strengthen our school district. When we met with the administrators at the start of the budget process, my message to them was, if you're looking to add something, we probably need to look at it at the same time as if we're able to decrease something along at the same time. It may not equal each other, but we really need to be fiscally conservative and look at a way to offset some of those costs. So Windsor High School, actually, this is the current state of Windsor High School. We added a 10-month assistant principal last school year, and it was after the budget had already been set. So we shared with the public that we bring that through the budget process. In order to do that, Mr. Sunday at the high school had decreased 1 teaching position. and decrease Windsor High School accounts to make that an even swap in terms of finances. In terms of Sage Park, we were looking at next year is the Focus Support Program, which is currently in 2 grade levels. There is some support for that 3rd grade level, but we were looking to discontinue that program and really add into our MTSS system of providing academic supports to students in math and reading here at Sage Park. So we hire new staff members or move current staff members into those positions and be able to service more students who may be below grade level in math and reading. At the high school, as we showed, there's an increasing number of students. There's also an increase in students that need special education services. We tried to work with that with tutors at the high school for some time. And so what we're looking at doing is decreasing some tutor funding, but adding a special education teacher to Windsor High School. Adding a board certified behavior analyst, that's a BCBA, is the name of the certification that those staff members hold. And we had previously used a contracted service at pre-K to 2 level for that support, but we realized by just adding a little bit more money to that funding that we'd be able to have a staff member on our staff. We already have 1 BCBA, we'd have 2 throughout the district, and that's working with students that may need behavior plans or teachers that may need support for a student in their classroom to develop a plan for students, to develop services for students. So that's very important for us to have. We also recognize that we have had just a tremendous increase in technology across the district. And so what we have been doing is utilizing a paraprofessional to do some of that work. But then we have to contract with staff over the summer. And so we're looking at decreasing 1 paraeducator position and adding a technology technician that would work 12 months and work throughout the district. But that person's main job would be at the high school. As you can imagine, with 1,200 students with Chromebooks, there's a lot of responsibilities there. And so that'd be a big part of that task. Also through our work, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this near the end, is our work on the profile of a graduate. But one of the things we see from not only community members, our students, our families, is that they would like to see us require personal finance as a graduation requirement for students. And so for the incoming freshman class, our plan is that personal finance would be a graduation requirement. It's a half-year course, and so 1 business teacher, along with the current sections that we teach, would be able to ensure that all students receive that personal finance course. And so our students, as they go off to college and work, they're bombarded with a lot of credit card offers and other financial decisions that they need to make. Even the decision on it's really important. As well, as I mentioned, we saw special ed increases. One of the increases we're seeing is the need for a speech language pathologist. And so we service students, children who turn 3. And so even if they're not in our schools, we have a responsibility of any student that lives in Windsor to provide speech services if they're identified to need speech services. So Aquanic and Oliver Ellsworth, they're very busy with their speech pathology staff and really not able to, if we keep seeing increases, to meet those needs. So we're looking to add a speech pathologist for next year. I believe I'm back to David.
The next list is program additions. So we've just gone through, Dr. Cook went through the staffing changes, and this has to do with additional programs. Adding $50,000 for major maintenance. The goal has been trying to add $25,000 to $50,000 each year to increase that pot of money. I know Mr. Lockhart would like to have $100,000 for each of our buildings, but we're clearly not at that point. But, it's easier if you're maintaining things and you wait to have, a roof collapse at a school. Or, I don't know where that would be, but so that survived. We have $50,000 that was added for this coming year. And also part of that targeting Sage Park Science Labs. Of course, Liana walked away. Elementary school summer program expansion of $30,000, and even though that's an addition of $30,000, it's still much less than prior summer school programs. We had a very successful first time ever program last year, And we have very good feedback from the teachers and administrators who were involved in that, to how do we change it and upgrade it and expand it so we can reach more students. And also additional math tutors for K through 2 of 42,000. Again, an area we'd love to have been able to add some teachers in there or specialists, but we think this will help at the K to 2 level. So net cost of program additions is $327,000, which is a 0.47% budget increase. Again, there's not a lot of new spending in there, but it is very targeted. Turn this back over. Oh, right in.
No.
No?
sir.
Okay.
All right, I'll take it. So I've not been shy as a board president about investing in our school system. When we went through the budget processes last year, it was a little give and take. What would the budget look like if we cut this amount? What would the budget look like if we added this amount? And it became a little tugging match here and there. So we saw fit this year, not to put the superintendent in a bad position, that give us a bucket list of things that if we had a magic wand and we can make it happen, what would you like to see on top of the budget that you're presenting? And these are some of the wish list item things that he presented. And quite frankly, almost every board member saw several things on this list that they would love to have. But in order to stay within the budget that was presented, what were we going to cut? And at times it was like, we were actually willing to maybe add something here and there. But to with what's going on in the state of the state of Connecticut at the Capitol, with a new governor, with the unknown about what the budget would look like, what would be approved at the budget, it would have been almost a little bit irresponsible for us at this point to add an additional on top of that, knowing that there were some unknowns out there. So, but these are some of the things that a data analyst, we've been wanting this data analyst for the past 3-4 years. That would be a person that would be working directly in the administrative office, running numbers, crunching numbers for the board. And every time we make a request as a board of the superintendent, he's pulling now resources away from other areas to solve a request for us. And there's another area of the school system that's kind of like lagging just a tad bit, just because we've made a special request. A data analyst would be a person that can be pivoted off to that person. They can provide whatever reports that the superintendent would want. Social studies, I would love to have at least a full, maybe 2 social study teachers within the middle school, because those are some of the most highly densely populated classes within the building. And you know what, we try to keep our classes, around 14 to 18. You can easily have a social study class that can be pushing 25 to 30, just the way the block structure is here in the building. So those are some of the things that if I had a wish list, great. We could always use more school counselors within the building. The counselors have a huge workload within the building. Any support and help would definitely help take some of that burden off of them. So, these are just basic examples of things that if we had a wish list, this could definitely spread some of the burden out across the whole district and give the staff a little bit more support in the areas that they're doing. Don't get me wrong, they're doing a great job now. But, we always could use a little help at times when the burden gets a little bit too heavy. So these are things that we're going to be looking at down the road to be building upon. Alliance grant, as Mr. Fury spoke, we're currently an alliance district within the state of Connecticut. That's we get as one of the 33 school districts in the state. We've been given mandates to turn our school districts around in the area of performance. I believe we are strongly there. Data is suggesting that we're not in the bottom tier, we're actually in the top tier now, and we're growing. The key protection of the Alliance grant is it keeps our level funding flat, where we're not being cut by the state, even during the budget crises that was happening over the past several years. Our funding from the state remained flat. However, our ECS money has also remained flat and has not risen with the rest of the school districts around the state. If we ever lost our Alliance grant funding, which is $582,729, These were the things that we would lose if we cut the Alliance grant. The reading teachers, the math teachers, the family resource coordinator, Spark social worker, the ROTC has been a wonderful program at the high school. It would now become a conversation amongst us. Your budget always speaks to your priorities as a town. Would the town be willing to now absorb another $580,000 if we lost that funding? That would be the fundamental conversation. And if they said no, these unfortunately would be the first things off the chopping block. And these CIP, we got to publicly thank Dr. Cook, the town manager, Mr. Peter Souza. Got to thank as you know, our buildings, they need to be well maintained. We have great buildings, they're in great shape, but you got to maintain the physical plant on an annual basis. If you neglect to keep on and fixing stuff and keeping up on stuff, over time they decay, and then if you have a major failure, then it's going to cost you down the road. These are the things that we've accomplished through the new cooling system at JFK and OE, and oven in these buildings, providing a conducive environment to learn, and for those that come to work for us. So it's a safety issue. But all of our buildings should be very comfortable and make sure that it's conducive for everyone. So we're working through it. We got pending with the Pequannock and Sage Park, like I said, cooling system. We got paving and parking at Pequannock that just is in dire need to be done. It's a safety issue. We're working with the town manager and the superintendent. They're working hand in hand to make this stuff happen. This is why I've been publicly vocal by the board member, no matter what seat I sat in, that we should be at a minimum of funding $100,000 at each elementary school, $200,000 at Sage Park Middle School, and $250,000 every fiscal year at the high school. That's a lot of money. It's $850,000. I do understand that. However, if you continue to not fund and take care of your physical plant, how much is it going to cost you down the road when you have some type of a failure? And then now you may have to go to a bonding or now we have to rely on the town council to bail us out when we can fiscally and responsibly budget for this type of stuff down the road. That's a BHAG for me. I would love to see us back at that place. But again, your budget speaks to the values that you have within your town. Next slide. Go to Dr. Cook.
I'll be right back to Leonard. And I did forget I was supposed to thank Clover tonight, Clover Street, their music concert to 1 o'clock. So we thank them for moving that back to allow us to meet tonight. I mentioned Profile of the Graduate earlier. We do have what's called a thought exchange going on right now. It's an online tool where citizens, parents, family members, students even are able to give us feedback on what they feel basically skills, competencies, abilities that they feel we should build in our students in Windsor Public Schools. It is somewhat tailored towards the high school, but when we look at it as a district, it's a project that we've been going on. This is our second year in the project, and so we're now at the community outreach portion of that. We're looking at how we build our students pre-K through 12. And so if it's oral presentation skills, we're weaving that into all of our work throughout the time with us. So if you think of student-led conferences as something our district has really bought into and our families really enjoy, that's something that builds the oral competencies and presentation skills of students. I mentioned financial literacy as being something that's important to the board and myself and students in the high school. And that's something that we would not only address just at Windsor High School, we would address here at Sage Park and throughout. So we've done basically a year of study, now a year of planning of how we're going to get public input. We've worked with our teachers, we've worked with our Board of Education, we've worked with community business leaders, we've worked with community leaders. And so now probably the most important part of this is to get input from our families. And so this is a great way to do that. It's very flexible. You can go online. If you're at a desktop, that's probably the easiest way to do it, is to log in and use that code. You can scan your QR code and do it through a mobile device if you prefer that. It's all on our website too, so people watching at home or watching later can go right to the website and participate. It's going to ask you some information about what you feel is important and then give you a chance to rate other people's ideas and what they feel is important. And it may bring you back later on to join that conversation. It's really an online conversation. We talked about different ways to accomplish this, and we knew that if we tried to just do community forums like something like this, we might only capture a smaller percentage of our families, but we know through this this work we can capture a much greater percentage. And so we're very excited to do that work and get those results probably sometime in June and share those with the community and really have the community of Windsor establish what they believe is the profile of a graduate for Windsor students. So it's very exciting work for us, and we involved principals and central office staff members. And then, as I said, we involved our teachers as well from pre-K to 12. It's really a district-wide project that we're working on. And so as we wrap up, I'm going to ask David and Leonard to share some closing thoughts.
Well, probably the most important thing is remember the date of the referendum. Budget referendum is next Tuesday, May 14th, and polls are open at regular election kind of time from 6 in the morning till 8 at night, and all 7 polling spots are available. If people are going to be out of the area, they can vote by absentee ballot, but you have to actually go to the town hall, get the absentee ballot, and really kind of vote there. They won't be mailed out. Again, very exciting budget. I thought, again, by our central office staff, which means not only central office, but the principals as well, collaborating, knowing that if they were going to have an ask, they might be told, well, what's kind of the lower hanging fruit that maybe you can do without. And I think that was very important to get a budget, as you alluded to, with not knowing what the state of Connecticut's going to do. We've had a couple of years of that. We know it's a difficult budget period of time for the state of Connecticut. So this is a very responsible budget. If you look at where we compare to other communities, we're one of the lower increases. So I hope people look at that and making their decision next Tuesday, and turn it over to Leonard.
All right. I just want to again thank Dr. Cook and his administration. I want to thank the principals that are here in attendance. They were part of the process. It was four public committee meetings. The teachers attended the first one, and they defended their budget line item by line item to the board. So there was collaboration there. I definitely want to thank Ms. Taylor for being here. She's a fellow board member, and all the board members recognizing them in their absence. I want to thank also the town council and the town manager. We presented the budget to them for over 2 hours. To the point they didn't have us to come back. They didn't have any questions. So we're thankful to that. I want to remind everybody it was a very civil and collaborative process throughout. We definitely had disagreements in perceptions, policy and politics at times. But at the end of the day, a good contract is when no one wins and gets everything that they want. And this is something that the superintendent's budget, we adopted it. The town also adopted it. Everybody voted 9-0. Both at the Board of Ed level as well as the town council level. And we're encouraging parents to go out and to be supportive of the budget. It doesn't matter if you have a child in the school district or not. Please go out and vote. We want to hear from each and everybody. At this time, we will open up to any Q&A, questions, comments, concerns. Any questions, comments, concerns in regards to the budget? I'll ask one more time, just so that all hearts and minds are clear. Any questions, comments, or concerns in regards to the budget?
Did we do that good of a job explaining things?
Well, if that's the case, thank you very much for engaging the Board of Education and trusting us with the macro process of educating your children. And please encourage everyone to go out and vote on May 14th. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.